Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fearlessly Authentic. I am your host, Jody Harrison Bauer, and I'm already laughing because of the guest that I have on the show today. You are going to laugh, you are going to learn, and I'm so excited to introduce him in a few minutes. So you've got to sit there and wait until I get finished talking, Rich. For those of you who are new listeners, welcome to Fearlessly Authentic. This is a show where we educate, empower, entertain, and inspire you for you to live a fearlessly authentic life. Because in my opinion, after being afraid for so much of my life to take a risk on myself and living in that fear and allowing it to stop me, I feel like, what else are we doing here for not living our most fearlessly authentic life? And of course, we have to overcome obstacles and other fears and so on. But that's what this show is really about, because I want to help others do the same thing. So we are going to laugh a lot today and be very, very entertained. Right? Yes.
A
Yes.
lot of expectations.
I know. So many expectations. Yes. So for everybody listening, and Rich, by the way, there are over 100 countries listening right now to this live show. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. We have a 5-star rating. So please go wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're listening, thank you for listening live right now. But please subscribe. I would appreciate that. And I love hearing from you. So keep the emails coming and keep the comments coming. I really do appreciate everything that you have to share with me. So on with the show. Welcome again to Fearlessly Authentic. My guest today, well, this is a very accomplished man. Welcome, Rich Aronovich.
Thank you for having me.
We were just like cracking up during the intro because Rich is just a very funny person. So you can follow him at Rich is Funny on all of your social platforms. Yeah. But a little bit about Rich. Rich Aronovich has appeared on multiple episodes of AXS TV's Gotham Comedy Live, beat Bobby Flay on the Food Network as a guest judge. You never told me that. NBC's Last Comic Standing, and was in the movie Wingman Inc., produced by Lionsgate. He has been seen dancing with Charo on NBC's The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, so cool, hosted multiple episodes of Three Men and a Chick Flick on the WE network. And after going viral on social media for his silly dances, Aronovich recently performed at Madison Square Garden, sharing the stage with Limp Bizkit. Woo woo! Welcome.
There's a lot more, but I won't mention it.
It's just like crazy. I was reading your bio and I thought, wow, he's done so much. So how did that feel? We're going to go back to your performance with Limp Bizkit for a second. What was that like?
Okay, so yeah, I guess we'll work backwards.
Well, no, I just want to know that part, and then
okay, so that part was nuts. So he found me with my TikTok that you mentioned, and my friend said, "Hey, Fred Durst is sharing your videos, I think, on Instagram." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, Fred Durst." And I saw the blue check mark, which apparently means you're real. And so I just messaged him and I said, "Hey, I don't know if this is his team or what the story is, but thank you," kind of thing. And he was like, "Oh no, it's me. Here's my number." And then we started talking, and then he was a cool dude. And then we just struck up a friendship. And then at some point I was hired to dance at the Islanders game. A lot of crazy stuff with the dancing, but I was hired to do the Islanders game. And on the way there, my buddy goes, "They're coming to New York." And I was like, "Oh." So I texted him, "Hey, you want to get coffee?" He's like, "Actually, do you want to do your thing at Madison Square Garden?" And I was like, yeah. And so I met him in person. It was really cool. Like, "What song?" And I was like, "The Nookie," because that's, and then I didn't realize, so I'm nervous. I've got all these crazy outfits and I'm ran out and
Rich,
I was
nervous? Rich, you nervous?
Well, here's what happened. So in dress rehearsal, to try to impress them, I went full throttle, which was not smart. Save it for the air, save it for the
right.
So I went full throttle, and it's a long song. So then we get to the performance hours later, and this was I was on very little sleep. I had.
Were you sweating?
Oh my God. Of course.
Yeah.
So they start playing, and a few minutes in, I'm doing my thing, and then I realize there's a threshold where you're physically like, your body's like,
I can't do this.
I'm not sure we're gonna keep going, buddy. So I start doing slow motion to catch my breath because I'm going like, I mean, it's like thousands and thousands of people, and I'm going full throttle, and I'm doing slow
Also, I
motion.
mean, right, there's and there the audience, you have so much adrenaline rushing through
You're
you. And
feeding off the adrenaline. I don't know
yeah.
where to do, and I whatever. So they had thrown in an extra song I didn't know, so I came out too early, but it was fine. And so I'm like, and so at some point my brain went. First thought was, "You're going to die." And I was like, "I'm not going to die. Stop it." It's like, "You're going to pass out." I'm not going to pass out. And then they're like, "You're going to puke." And I was like, that could happen. So I was like, because you like all like you're, but I'm like, just slow motion, caught my breath, and then went. And then as soon as it was done, I went over and I was just like, but it was awesome and worth it. And the adrenaline pushes you through. But yeah, it was a
Totally.
lot. I was sore.
Oh my God, that is very, very cool. So, so, so cool.
So
So let's go back to, well, I see there's so many things I want to ask you. Can we just talk about your mustache for a second? Because in your dancing videos, you were pasting on a fake like mustache, and now you've got a real one.
Yeah, because I was sick of putting on the fake mustache. Because what would happen was we would see, I was like in a hotel and I looked out and I was like, it was a wedding party. So I called my opener. I was like, dude, grab your phone, we're going. So we run downstairs. I throw on my stupid outfit or whatever, my silly outfit, and we dance and it's great. And then the comments are like, "Where's the mustache?" I'm like, "Oh God." I give in. Like when you have to go quickly, like, "Oh yeah," and then I'd sweat it off after like 2-3 dances, or it'd fall off, and then it was just annoying. It was like another piece. I was like, you know what? What happens if I just grow the mustache? So
how long did that take?
Look like a guy who catches child molesters, and I'm working undercover. Get in the van. You know what I mean? Like look. Where in Brooklyn do I live? I mean, I look like, I slick back my hair. I'm like, where were you the night of the 4th? But I don't know. It works.
Oh my God. You're so funny. Rich is so funny. Rich is funny.
Yeah,
okay. So thank you for explaining the mustache. I like it. Does your wife like it? She probably hates it, right?
I think she's getting used to it, but that's like when you have like like a pain in your knee. You're like, I'm getting used to it. I don't think it likes the hair.
Right. I like the hair too. So I was married to a man for 17 years who I met in 1983, and he had a mustache because it was 1983. Okay.
1983.
Well, that's where I graduated.
You got to keep it in the mustache.
That's when I graduated from college. So, I wasn't not a fan. I didn't really care about the mustache, but about 6 months after we got divorced and he had a girlfriend, she had him shave off the mustache. And my oldest daughter literally had a meltdown. She was about 13 years old and she had a meltdown because they only knew their dad with a mustache. So it is a really defining characteristic.
I mean, I'm getting comments from other friends of mine, very like longtime friends. So it's nothing going on, but like my lesbian friends, like, it looks sexy, looks good. I like it on you, which I thought she was going to say no. And then my other friends, like, Yamanika Sanders is a funny comic. It looks good. And I'm like, oh, okay. So maybe, Rachel finds out, I like it, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's just, I like it. I like it. I think it fits you.
I'm on the fence as well.
So let's go back to, let's go way, way back to when Rich was just a little kid. Were you that person, that child that needed attention or was serious or was isolated or was always just funny? Were you looking for attention or were you shy?
When you say it, looking for attention sounds oh so needy.
And I would describe you as that, probably.
Wow, I guess you're being fearlessly authentic to my face. I guess sometimes I need to hear every thought in your head. No? I was always a funny kid. Before I could speak, I used to do I would lift up skirts of mannequins and go woo woo, before I was of age, and then I would do stuff I would sneak away from my mom, and then I would go in the display and put on a coat and then freeze and watch her run back and forth thinking I was gone. Like she'd run one way, like panicked, and then she'd run back with the mall police and then run back with the real police. And there's a crowd looking at us like, and then eventually the police was like, "Is that your son?" And then it was like, "Ha ha ha," stuff like that. So like, and I was always the class clown, and I would get away with like there was this amazing teacher. She was my algebra teacher, but like, I don't understand algebra. I'll never understand. I don't need to understand algebra. Like teach how to do your taxes or, figure out the rate of a loan or how to negotiate with a contractor.
Right.
Algebra is stupid. So anyway, so I was like, I know.
Right. I agree.
So I was going to fail out of her class, but I would ask her history questions. I'd literally be like, "Oh, Mrs. Green, what is in the Treaty of Versailles? What do you think the French government role in that?" She's like, "Ooh, Ranovich, you work my nerves with all these questions." So we're getting to my grades, and she sees I failed, and I go, "Oh, just to remind you, I'll be in your class next year." And she was like, "I think you got a C, a C minus." Like I totally. Just not to have me in her class, just went, "See, get him out." But she loved me in a weird way, like she got me. So
right.
I was always a funny kid.
I am sure you were very endearing because it doesn't sound you were doing anything that was mean spirited. You were just found the comedy in things.
Yes. I'm getting fearful of my internet connection.
You what?
My internet connection seems to be sucking right at the moment, and I'm checking it.
Okay, well, we're still good.
Okay, yeah, no, it's fine.
Okay, all
right,
right,
good. Just my fear. We're good.
Okay, yeah, we're fine. So I this is not about me, but I was very serious. But as I told
Jody,
you before,
what were you like as a kid?
I was always serious, and I was trying to be always the teacher's pet. So comedy was not my thing, but I do always remember the kid that was funny. And it was so great to have that funny kid in the class because otherwise the classroom would have been so boring, but that kid always got in trouble too because they disturbed the class. Now I think now they're put in special classes now or something, or they were always sent to the principal's office. But did you get in trouble by the teachers who did not appreciate your sense of humor?
All the time.
And what did your parents say?
I mean, my parents are funny, and so like sometimes, yeah, they're funny. And by the way, I got dressed up for your.
What's with the hair?
I look like a mugshot. What do you mean? What's with the hair? I have a child. I have excuses. I'm leaving town tomorrow. Look what's going on here.
No, you just put. For those of you who are going to download this show and share it with your friends, please go to YouTube at Jody Harrison Bauer so you can just see the shenanigans going on here. He just put his hair behind his ear.
Yeah, there was a little piece right here that didn't.
And he has like a big Jew fro. I can say that I'm Jewish. He's Jewish. We can say Jew fro.
It felt fearlessly inauthentic. This part, like I was like, oh yeah. Okay. I've had a very full day. I've got a very full life.
I know. I really appreciate all the time. So let's go back. So your parents were funny. They didn't get pissed off that you were in trouble.
Yeah. So I did stuff like I had to get a senior quote. So I wrote, oh
my God.
Es is a good Nacht verstoppen Yiddish proverb, right? So they already knew that I was always up to shenanigans. Mm-hmm. So they hired an interpreter. And it means it's a good night for banging, which is not a Yiddish proverb.
Right.
So then Carol Christian, God rest her soul, who just, she wrote back to my parents a long letter about, according to the translation I've received, I'm appalled. So then my new senior quote was, according to the translation I've received, I'm appalled, Carol Christian, Vice President of Ben Franklin School.
Oh, I don't believe it.
Yeah, but I was, there's like, and so my parents thought that was funny, and they're like, they don't really care. I grew up in New Orleans. People are showing breasts for beads. There's no rules.
Right. No, like I said, I wish I was the funny person. Like my family thinks I'm a little funny. My daughters don't think I'm funny, but I could never do stand-up comedy. I think to me that, and I've been on the stage in a bikini, in stripper heels, and that didn't scare me, and it would scare the shit out of some people. I know you
Jody,
can do.
I've done it too. I know,
know.
I've done the same thing.
So what happened? Did you go right into stand-up comedy? How did you get on Jay Leno? Like,
Okay, so
did you so after high school, did you say, listen, I'm gonna be a comedian, like this is my calling?
okay, so for senior year, there's a senior talent show, and I was going to do stand up there, and I called in sick. I was
Oh,
like, I cannot do this in front of all these classmates. It's the scariest thing ever.
yeah.
And I had the bug, right? I had the bug. Like when I was a
Wow.
kid, I used to go to camp, and someone put Eddie Murphy, comedian, in my ears, and the part where he was talking about Stevie Wonder driving, and I remember just this, like it was like the earth just like the sky just opened up. It was like, oh, I was like, this, you want to hit a tree? Ha ha ha! Very funny, motherfucker. Like it was just, I was just like,
I
oh,
remember.
this is what I wanted. I love. And then when I was like 7 years old, at camp, I was always a funny kid, so I memorized Rodney Dangerfield's. He had like a joke book, so I memorized it. I put on a suit and did an impression of him, and the reaction was like, I was like, and they were like,
Wow.
people were like, and I was like, it was awesome. I was like
give
7
me
years old.
give me a Rodney Dangerfield joke right now.
Oh, I tell you, when I was young, my father said he wanted a boy. I don't like cocaine. I like the way it smells. I don't, no
That was
respect.
that was good. I remember that. What about Take My Wife, right?
I mean, this is
But
Jody.
isn't
7 years
he
old was a long time ago,
okay?
and
But
I've written
wait,
my own jokes. And I'm no longer a hack. At 7 years old, I was a hack. But wait, I was getting to a point. Oh, I was getting to a point. Wait,
you were
what was
talking
it?
about camp.
Yes, I was just always performing. And so, oh yeah, the story of how I started. So the summer before, I was going to go to Israel for a year instead of college because I was going to get enough credit, and it was a really cool program. And I was at this place called Movie Pictures, which no longer exists, in New Orleans. And I was outside. I smoked cigarettes at the time, I'm embarrassed to say. And
Gross.
I was
Gross.
making this guy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I used to. I quit, so I'm better than you.
Good.
So I was smoking, and this guy, I'm like making him laugh, and I'm being really funny. He's like, "Hey, we have an improv show next door. If you tell a joke and you win the contest, you come back and you open our show for 5 minutes." Right. So I did it. I told a street joke, and that's when I started performing. And the weird thing is, in my 18, 19-year-old head, I thought it would be more relatable if I went by the name Smooth Daddy Johnson instead of Rich Aronovich or Rich Aronovich. I don't know
Are you
why I did that.
serious? Are you
Yeah, yeah,
serious?
100%. And so I continued doing stand up. By the way, that person that said come do the show next door was Dr. Ken Jeong, from the Hangover and Matt, the judge and the
Oh,
singer. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Wow. What's a street joke?
Street joke is a joke that anyone can tell. So like,
Like I could tell it?
yeah, you could tell it. So like, here's one my rabbi told me that I could also tell, but I didn't
Okay.
write it. So that's what it means by a street joke. Like my rabbi says, this Jewish mother has a baby, and all of a sudden this tornado takes the baby up, and he's going, "Oh God, please bring me back my baby. Please bring me." And the baby comes into her arms, and she goes, "He had a hat."
Okay. Got it.
So
So
it's
you
a
so
street joke.
okay, got it. So you did well there. So what led? So your age, so did you ever go to Israel?
Yeah, I went to Israel for 10 months for a
Okay.
year,
And then you came
Jewish
back.
year.
Did you
So I did stand up in college, but I would go to the Uptown Comedy Corner, which is in Urban, I think is the politically correct way to say that, all black comedy club, where they told the audience if they're not funny, boo them off stage. And I got booed off stage for
mm,
3 years. I went back every week, got booed off stage every week. My friends could not understand why I kept going back. And I'm like, because I have to learn how to get
mm,
good. This is
yeah.
all experience. And they would like buy me a Frosty, like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, this happened last week. This is what happens. I get booed off." Like I can't worry about, like I'm learning. It's learn on the job. That's what you do. You learn on the job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I used
Very
to produce, like I would produce my own show. Like, "Hey guys, Smooth Daddy Johnson's going to be at the Depot tonight at 7:30." And they're like, "Who's that? You don't know who he is?" And I would talk about myself in the third person. I'd be like, "Dude, he's this comic. He's got like this cult following. You got to go check him out. He's amazing." And then I would go bomb at the Depot. for, you know what I mean? And that, like, I sucked for a couple of years. I sucked. And then eventually I changed my name back to myself, and I got into a comedy club where I basically, like, I met the owners. They're like, we're going to do a dueling piano, but we don't have anything on these nights. I was doing sketch and improv. So I was like, we'll do a sketch and improv show. And then I'm like, let me produce a comedy show. And I would hand out flyers in Times Square. And all those annoying people at Times Square, that's my fault. I started that whole mess.
That whole thing.
That's literally, yes.
You are very tenacious. That's amazing.
Yes, I learned from the Boston Comedy Club. I just was like, the work ethic was great. Like, so I would hand out flyers and I would sell the show, and then I would do the time and not get paid. You know, I would go to Stand Up New York and I would manage their club. Manage a club means I get $10. I seat people, I bring them their food, and I take out the garbage at the end of the night, which always leaked. So I always had garbage juice down one part of my body, down my leg, which is disgusting, for $10. Disgusting. And I would perform while they're paying their check. So for them not to recognize that I was the guy that just sat them, I would change shirts and I would put on a hat with a fake ponytail, and I would wear fake glasses while I sat them. So they didn't know that I was just the guy. So I would disguise myself. So this way they would be like, oh, I'd have a chance as a comic. Because if they're like, oh, the door guy, never mind. But if it's like, oh, as a comic, they might listen to me. You understand?
Yeah, totally. So you're referring to yourself as a comic. What's the difference? Comic, comedian, same difference, right?
I don't know if there's a difference.
Yeah.
I think a comic is something you can read. A comedian is there's no doubt. So maybe that's why. I don't know.
I watched a show. I don't know if you watched it. Came out a couple of years ago about, I think it was what's the club in New York? A famous comedy club in New York. I sound so dumb saying, hey, what's a good comedy? But there was a show about it in the 70s when, like, Eddie Murphy was coming up and all of these.
Comic strip?
Maybe it was.
Eddie Murphy came out of the comic strip.
I'll have to remember, but it was everything you're describing, the booing, the late nights, not getting paid, coming back, doing it more. It was just, I don't know how they did it. It was run by a woman. You're talking
about the Comedy Store in LA.
Okay. Sorry. LA. And it was just a lot of stress.
Mm-hmm.
So where did you started performing all over? You're from New Orleans, right? And then yes. Where do you like to perform the most? Where is the best place for you to perform? Like the best audiences? Is that fair to ask you?
Well, I know my least favorite audiences.
Yeah.
The German audiences are just so, I'm kidding.
I was going to say, I was waiting for you to say something.
Yeah. If they don't understand the language, it's so hard. Like, well, no. I like New York a lot. There's a permission, I think, because it's a real melting pot, there's a permission that there's less sensitivity for the most part. Mm-hmm. And we've trained the audiences, like, this is a style of comedy that I grew up in. I don't, but also, like, I love performing in small towns where they don't have anything. There's a stoplight and a pizza place. They really appreciate you.
Aww.
You know what I mean? They really
Rich.
appreciate you. You still feel so authentic.
And what is your favorite? You did that little Rodney Dangerfield impersonation, but do you do impersonations?
Well, I do great impersonations. I'm one of the best. I do great things for comedy. Right now, the people are standing, and they don't know why. They're giving me a standing ovation, and they think I'm fantastic. I really am. And you're great, but you're a big problem. You're fearless, but you're authentic. I love doing that voice, but sometimes people get upset, but not anymore. I think it's okay. It's enough time has passed. Because it's not political, it's just a voice. I like doing that one. I have some that are not as good and not as recognizable, but at some point, I mean, this is kind of leads into the dance thing. I was doing that with green screen and the wig and the whole thing. And people were upset and triggered, ironically.
Wait, by the dancing?
No, by the Trump impression.
Oh, right. Well, probably because of when you started doing it, right? It was just like
we've had a time where everyone was scared, so people's fears were on both sides. On both sides, so everyone was afraid, and so when your fear looks for a place to go, it's easy to find something like that.
Right.
So I so I was doing it. I was doing skets. I was trying to fill the performance hole. I've never took a break since I started at 18, 19, whatever I started.
Wow.
And so I was doing a lot on the internet. Then someone said, "Hey, go on TikTok." I'm like, "What's this? I'm an adult." I'm like, oh. I went on there and I saw the underage girls with the side boob and the butt cheek doing the viral dance, doing
Right.
that. And so I
Right.
made,
Right.
as any sane person would do, I put on a bikini and made fun of it, and it went nuts.
No.
And yes, it went nuts. And I was like, I don't know how much legs this has. I don't know how long I could do this. So I did a few. People loved it. I was, interspersing with like basically like a variety sketch show is what I was producing without realizing it.
Right.
And
Right.
this woman, and I don't want to break her anonymity because she said, "Please don't talk about me," but she gave birth to me. This woman says, "Hey, listen, you got to. It's mortifying. How is it going to help your brand? You look like a melted candle without your shirt on. Like, stop doing this." And at that time, a woman said, "Look, my sister is in hospice, and instead of talking about the inevitable, we're just watching your videos, and laughing." And I
Wow.
wrote it back. I was like, "Are you going to buy my T-shirt or not?" Like and I'll definitely need the money up front because we don't know. I'll double the price. I'll take half off. I know you got a lot going on. You know what I mean? 2 for 20, one for 10. No, I'm kidding. No, I didn't say any of that.
I
But I
know
did.
you are.
Yeah, but I did get emotional, and I realized that I was helping people, and I so it had a different purpose. It had a
Right.
whole different sense of like, oh, I'm not doing this more like because it was like, oh, people are in a bad place. This is relieving some of that stress and helping.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, I'm going to continue doing this. And I tuned out everybody because I went, I'm not doing this for the career. It's not about marketing. It's not about how can I get, it's what can I give. And that's when I went, all right, full throttle. And so I really, and it started in my kitchen. And then eventually I tried to do it in public and had to get over those fears
Right.
because I've got fear too.
I know
Jody,
you
I got a
do.
lot of fear sometimes. I don't tell anybody, but sometimes
I
I get afraid. So I got to, I had to get over that idea of this is not a natural. You don't naturally go, "Oh, I'm going to dance in people's bubble." It's okay. So I eventually, and also I didn't want to get around people during the because I don't want to, respect people's boundaries and everything. So,
right.
but eventually
Right.
it turned into this whole thing. So it's and it's done, that's a lot for my career. Which all the other stuff is cute and great, but I'm like, who would have thought this?
Who would have
But the
and
good,
that's because you were doing something that I don't mean to sound corny, but you were doing something that was completely authentic to you. You just were like, screw it. Like, I'm going to make fun, not like in a mean way, because none of your stuff is ever mean. It's just in a funny way. And at a time when you started, people needed to laugh. I mean, obviously, this woman who was dying needed to laugh. And that's wonderful that they brought comedy into her life and that you were able to do that. But we all needed to laugh. That's why everybody started noticing the funny people.
right. Yeah, it
Right.
was. Yeah, there was some service element to it, and it made me feel like there's a bigger purpose. And as corny as it sounds, I was getting over a lot of fear, so I was being fearlessly authentic because I like to dance, I like to be silly, I like to do pranky stuff. But no one's really getting hurt by this. It's not really, the pie is not going really in anyone's face. It's just sort of like,
Exactly. Exactly. All right. We need to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Rich Aronovich, and we are going to talk more about comedy. And I'm telling you, he's just going to keep making you laugh. We'll see you guys back in a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody. I am with this very funny guest today, Rich Aronovich, and we are talking about. Okay, don't do that. Take those
you said we were
glasses
going to be serious, so I have to put my serious glasses. Thank you.
off. And we are talking about comedy and just his funny dances, his silly dances, how he went viral on TikTok. And I want to talk to you about something a little serious just for a few minutes. And that is, we mentioned fear before we went to the break. And you were a little nervous, maybe starting to do the dances out in public, nervous when you first started doing stand-up comedy. So what do you do, or what did you do to overcome those fears?
Um, fear for me is sometimes it's subtle. So like I was at a club the other night and I'm like picking on the way that the seating is. I'm like, how come they're like round tables? Why isn't it not proscenium? I'm like, well, I don't understand. And then I know enough about myself later to go, oh, you're nervous about the show, so you're looking for things so it's coming out sideways.
Oh,
right?
wow,
So
that's
that's how I
interesting.
know. Yeah, I don't like sometimes you'll get the butterflies or like that, like sometimes I just get uh like dicky, you know what I mean? Or
Like
I'll
you're an asshole.
yeah, like I just like start picking on stuff. And
Mm.
I toured with a guy that was like was the worst about this. Later I realized he was afraid, but he would be at a nightmare before the show. He'd be a nightmare. And so you would just go like, oh, he's afraid. He has no self-awareness. Like, oh, I'm afraid. That's what's going on. So I told him, seat's fine. I guess I was afraid. So I took it out on the seats. I don't know why I did that, but that's what I do. Um, I do, I don't know if it's meditate, but I do find that, and this is going to sound weird, but I do find that if I get a little bit quiet before it helps, so I can
Mhm.
just try to get centered and stay in the moment and just do that. And I also ask the universe,
Whoa,
whatever,
rich.
you help me be as funny as possible so I can be of service to these people, help me get out of my own way so I can be of maximum use to you and others. Grateful, 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 grateful. Like so then
Mm.
I'm, so okay, how can I give, not take? And even if just saying that, if I can sort of lock that in my head, then I can go, because I can see, my friend and I always talk about, you could see on stage takers and givers. You can see the difference if you've been in the game long enough. You can see,
Mhm.
and you can see how people conduct themselves. And if my goal is to be a giver, not a taker, then that's what I have to run my whole. That's my log line. That's my
That's your
my
mantra.
little sign in the background.
Yeah.
With underneath, sponsored by Jody Harrison Bauer.
It's about the service that you're offering. It's like,
Yeah.
I am going to be of service to the people who have come and paid to see me, make them
Yep.
laugh. I want to be
Yep.
of service to them rather than how much money am I making tonight and what can they give to me and how many more people can come, right?
Do you know how much it sucks to say that to someone and then they tell you what money they want to pay, and instead of having to go like, well, I should get more, you're like, oh, I'm just grateful that you want to pay me really good money to do what I do. But there's always a part of me that goes, you know what I mean? Like
Right, of
that I
course.
should be a little bit more like,
Can
there's
I
a
get
part of me
to?
that goes like, no, but if you're in the, I don't want to say, if you're in the flow, right?
Mhm.
If you're in the real flow of like, this isn't about the paycheck, but it's about the human connection. Because like I could make money doing other stuff. I could clearly be a salesman. I could be, whatever. I could do a ton of jobs that are much more stable and guaranteed money. And money's not my motive. I'm
Right.
not. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to be. I don't love being. I didn't love being poor, but money's not the motive. That's a big switch.
Wait,
Does
did
that
I
make
ever ask you? Yes, it totally makes sense. When's your birthday?
a week from today?
Oh, so you
Oh,
are
you must have a
Sagittarius.
mustache because you're a Libra.
You're a Libra. I like Libras. Okay, that's how we get along. But it's for me, also there are people out there that are motivated completely by money, and then there are people who want to be of service. I'm very similar to that, to be of service, and it's never been the money that drives me because it just hasn't been. But yes, I agree with all the things that you're saying. And but when you're backstage and they're about to announce your name, that's when you kind of go through your mantra before you go out, or you feel the butterflies. Do you feel okay with the butterflies? Because sometimes, even before we open the show today, I get a little bit of butterflies. And that's why it's nice to connect with my guests before the show goes on. And, but it drives me. Like, I like the adrenaline. I love doing the live shows.
Yeah, I don't like. I was in an unfamiliar setting. Um, there was a company that brought me to Nashville. They saw the dancing, and then they wanted to basically work with me in a brand I really was like into. And I guess you should have me back once it releases because it's pretty awesome and very pro women. But
Okay. I'll have you back.
yeah. Oh,
I think.
it was your idea. No, that's fine. But I can't believe you asked me. You must be not a Libra. You must be a Virgo with the Sagittarius rising. That's why
Nope.
you asked me. But but they
You're ridiculous.
I know. But before I went, I was performing for them. I was at a club I hadn't been to in years. It was a new booker, and I felt the
Really?
that 8 Mile moment, like where you're like, okay, I'm nervous. I know it.
Yes.
I'm on, but there's nothing better than like going through that process and watching the video after, and you're like, you have no idea. I am in panic mode. Like I did that TV show, whatever, was live, so there was kind of like this. Like you can't tell how nervous I was. But on the TV show, the comic before me did extra time, so I had to cut 2 minutes on something I had prepared for months. So in the commercial break, I had to go, how am I going to cut 2 minutes out of a 10-minute set without ever running it? And there was no, because they're going to shut it off. I was the last comic, so I was just like, and you couldn't tell I was panicked. So I just,
Wow.
it was just,
And you did it.
like, oh yeah, but this is why I know I'm in the right business, because I'm able to, I can do that. Just like, you know what I mean? Like I was going to say something that sounded really egotistical. I'm not trying to compare myself to,
okay.
but I'm saying like like Michael Jordan, in my opinion, was the best basketball player of all time. And you knew that when it's 3-2, you knew to give him the ball, and usually he's going to hit that. Usually he's going to hit that shot.
Right.
He thrives on that pressure. He thrives on that 3-2-1. And I also like that. I'm not comparing myself to Michael Jordan. What I'm saying is you knew that he was born to be a basketball player. I was born to be an entertainer because I'm a Libra. Because I'm a Libra.
Libra. Yes, yes. They're very balanced people.
I seem very balanced to you.
Right. You know, it's what TV show are you referring to? That you
Gotham Comedy Live.
Okay.
Yeah.
That must have been. Tell me about you. Go ahead. What were you say?
I just said I did it twice.
Was it fun? Did you like doing it on? Did you like being on TV?
Oh, I mean that I did. Yeah. When there's an element of like, this is what I do. Mm-hmm. I so want to refer to something and I can't.
Okay.
NDA? Did you sign an NDA? Yeah, I did. So there's something we'll talk. Another reason to have me back later.
Yes, I know. I have to have
3 episodes. We're doing 3 episodes. But there was something I did when I didn't feel in control and it wasn't fun. So. But yes. This one I feel like when I know what I'm doing, or I know like, that's right, I thrive, or like,
because it goes back to that authentic
you don't know. That's the other thing. So that's one of the reasons. I mean, I talked to a famous friend of mine, and he is on big network TV shows. And he's like, I'm jealous of you, and I'm like, you're jealous of me? He's like, yeah, you get the live. He's from Second City, and he's like, I don't get that anymore. He doesn't get that anymore. So he gets like, you get live. I get that hole filled several times a night, or at least several. I mean, I put 10 shows this week. So like 10 times this week, I got to have that exchange.
That's just, to me, I think that would be so exciting. So with the dance videos, which took you viral, I happen to experience watching you live on a street doing your dances. And
you filmed a couple of them. Can we say that?
Yes, we can say I filmed a few of them, and I did a very good
job. Jody was behind the camera.
I was, and you were like, "Oh, you do a good job."
Yeah.
But
I did the same thing you're doing, which is like, "Oh, he's so funny." I'm like, "Oh, she likes." Oh yes, well, I'll do better. I was doing the same thing.
I was trying to impress you with my filming skills, but it was, you knew where to go. You're like, let's go in front of this group. Let's go in front of this group. Oh, no, don't go over here. And I remember I asked somebody to do something without asking you if I should ask that person. You're like, afterwards, you were like kind of pissed. You were like, you shouldn't have asked that guy. You should have asked that guy. I knew he wasn't going to be into it, right?
No, it wasn't that I was pissed. And I do come off a little spicy, and that was not the intention. It's when I'm in workflow, right. I am like a little bit, and I think you can relate to this. Sure. You get like not perfection-y, but like, you know what your art is, and like you just like want it to be great, and like you don't want to waste time, and you're like, there's a limited thing, and so you're like, and I can read. I mean, part of my job is to read people. I can tell who I'm doing jokes to. Do I talk to that person or not? Do I go edgy? Do I go more? Do I older? So my whole some people have, here's my set, here's what it is, you laugh, you don't, I don't care. I care what people are experiencing. I care about how can I be of service. So if I go, they're not going to laugh here, then if they're not going to laugh at 3, they're not going to laugh at 7. So why go to 3, 7, 10? Go, okay, switch over and go this way. You understand? Like, you know what I mean? So you kind of read what you got to go, so when I read,
you've got to read the crowd.
Exactly. So when I read people, I go, all right, we can do that, those people, but don't ask them because they're going to shut down. But if we just do it, then we'll ask for forgiveness, not permission is a big thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you were hilarious when I was filming you that in front of that restaurant. That was really funny. And I think it did pretty well. It didn't go viral, but it did pretty well. And
What's your definition of viral?
Oh, like over 1 million. That one did not go. So what is your biggest viral video? What are you doing in it? And why do you think it went viral?
I'm explaining what it means to be fearlessly authentic on a podcast.
Stop it.
That has over 8.0. It's one of my dance videos. Always this. It was like I had just danced in Chipotle, but I didn't give my camera person enough room, so they didn't get the reactions, and I was a little bit like, oh man, my fault completely. Right. But I didn't. Sometimes I'm just like, oh, I'm into the dance, and let's go. A little frenetic, as you experienced. Yes. And then we were walking by a Con Ed dude, and I was like we're about to be home, and I was like, just hit play. And that one, 7 point something million.
Wow.
And there was another one where I was like getting ready because I wear these ridiculous outfits. This one I was like, my friend was like, dude, just do shorts, t-shirt, headband or something, like do less.
Your outfits. Can you just explain what you wear? No, I'm going to tell everybody what he wears. So he'll wear like a belly shirt and he's got a hairy chest. And so he'll wear like belly midriff bearing. Everything is polyester. And it's like he's a combination of like a porn star. He wears bell-bottom pants. Do you wear heels? No, you're not wearing. You're just wearing normal. You wear sneakers.
I'm a dancer.
You're a dancer. Right, you do. You jump on counters. You and then some people. You guys really need to check out his TikTok at Rich is Funny, because you'll see the reactions of people behind him, and that to me, besides him doing the silliest dances in the world, and he is a good dancer. You're a good dancer. I said something funny. That the people, I'm self-deprecating too. The people behind you in there are just the reactions are hilarious, and that's what makes the video half funny.
Yeah, I think that's what magic. That's what gives it longevity, is because we get that I'm dancing, silly outfits, like a lot of thrifting goes on in my life, but like the reactions are either ignore, which is crazy. How are you ignoring this person?
I don't know.
So, disgust. I love getting a disgusted. How dare you think outside the box? Or joy, laughing at, laughing with, joining in. So it's kind of all over the map. The song, it's quick. They're quick hits. People get joy out of it. I don't, I have judgments about it because I'm an artist, and I look from the inside out, not the outside in. And but I get it. I get why people, and I'm just like, all right, I don't overthink it. I go, easy to produce, gives people joy. How can I be of service?
How do you change up being somebody who creates content as well, not as funny as yours, but how do you come up with the ideas? I know you have, I've seen like your costumes, they're ridiculous, but do you keep buying more clothes? Like how do you come up with the content?
So it's sort of like I know that the dancing is working, but I don't I'm like, come for the dancing, stay for the rest kind of thing. I'm not quite right, but I'm not quite wrong sort of deal. So you get introduced because this dance thing happens. And if you start kind of getting into my world, like this company did, they went, wait, he does voices, he does characters, he does impressions. There's a lot more sort of like, hey, we got the best clam chowder. And you come for the chowder, like, oh, they've got good salmon too. So there's a lot more. So I started to try to create different characters, and the market sort of tells me. By market, I mean people's reactions, comments, likes, views, tells me. So I'm constantly surfing for, different material. I retired the Trump thing pretty much a few years ago because I don't know. I just sort of went, he's out of office, and let's just move on to something else. You know what I mean? And
Right.
I don't like fighting with people.
Right.
I'm not here to get into debates, you know? So, but I bring it back every now and again on stage or whatever. It's a good moment. I feel like it's
Again,
been
depending on the crowd, right?
right.
So here's another question. Let's just say you have your whole monologue, I guess you would call it, what you do on stage, your whole stand-up. How long are you usually on stage?
So it depends. Like I'm going to do a cruise right now because God hates me, and I know I have to
Do
do
you get seasick?
no. I just I like this company, but a lot of
Okay.
yeah, I work for celebrity. I love celebrity. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay. Fine.
And I will use that, and they're really cool, and I'm going to be dancing around the ship, and people will not know what's going on, but it's a great background setting. It's good for content, and
Love it.
I know I'm going to do one 45-minute family friendly show, and potentially a 45-minute do whatever you want risque show, and I know that I'm going to have at least two of those shows. So I plan for two of those shows, but doesn't mean the cruise director could decide, hey, just do two, just do your 45-minute show and that's it. So I don't know. So you kind of have to be like prepared for everything.
Is 45 minutes a long show?
I mean, it's not anymore, but when I didn't have it, it was like, I mean, you every I'm constantly writing jokes, or I'm thinking of jokes, or I'm adding jokes. You know what I mean? So yeah, it grows and grows, and you're like, oh wait, and I'm excited because I have new material that I can try, and you have to tinker it and sort of play with it and massage it to be like, oh, there it is, now it works. Because in my mind, like it's to my mind to mouth to audience is a whole different. There's a whole lot of steps to make a joke actually work.
I don't know how you do it. It's a lot more complex than it seems. You come off and you get on stage, and it seems the comedian. I mean, when comedians aren't great and when they are, but when they're smooth and they're funny, I think to myself, how do they remember all of this? Because I can't remember anything. So how do they remember all of 45 minutes? I could never, maybe I could, I don't know, but I would think that sounds really hard. And do you ever look at the crowd after you have your content together, like what jokes you're going to tell, go out there or read the crowd before and say, oh shit, everything I have set up right now is not going to work for this crowd?
It's really this, you have to be in the now, in the moment. Okay. So my fear, we're talking about fear. My fear will tell me that they're not going to like me. My fear will tell me, don't do the Trump impression because this is Nashville, for example.
Right.
And the second I went out there and started open with I became a US citizen in 2015, and my mouth decided, this is when I'm in the flow, right? I'm out of the way. This is when I'm like, okay, there's something going on here. It's not me, but it ain't, I don't know. People call it God, energy, whatever it is. I don't know what it is. I don't put a label on. I just go, I'm in the flow. When I'm in the flow, I'm out of the way and the mouth is just going. And I went, oh, I guess we're doing this. And and I was like, oh, they lit up on it. I was like, but my fear told me, don't do that. My fear told me, you're in a red state. My fear told me, don't. And I went, oh. And it was like,
Wow. I give you so much courage, like props for the courage that you have to do what you're doing, the dancing, the comedy, and being consistent with it. For how many years now have you been doing it?
Some other years. So that's a lot of years. Yeah, I haven't quit. That's the only thing. I know that this business has no business calling itself a business, but that's Dan Natterman, the comedian, said that. But I know that the only thing that the business is about getting back up, not about getting up. So it's a business designed to make you quit. Right. So as long as you don't, as long as it's antithetical to self-preservation.
Right.
Like reading the comments and some of the things and the heckling and you get a lot. but the reward, the upside is worth the downside. But the downside is enough to like, I mean, someone put my stuff on Reddit. I 8 comments in, I'm like, I need therapy. Get out.
Oh,
It was brutal.
was it really?
But this is what the Reddit community is.
I don't know. I've never done it. I've never read anything on Reddit, or I don't think that anybody has ever
I
written.
don't look. I don't know. Whatever this thread that I got put on, it was brutal.
Wow. Well, that's why you got to have that thick skin.
Yeah.
Rich, we only have like 2 minutes left in the show, and I have to ask you one last question.
You want to know about my car warranty? Is it extended? Oh, crypto. You want me to sell you some? Yeah, Dojo coin. What was your question?
What does it mean for you to be fearlessly authentic?
When my flow, whatever, when I hear the voice, I listen to the voice now. So there's negatives and positives, right? So if the voice inside me, if I'm interacting with someone and something inside me goes, nope, I will negotiate that because of my motive. Oh, there's money, there's this, there's that, the other. When my goes, you're doing this for a reason. I go, okay. And that's why the dancing continued, because I had, having your parents have you sit you down with an intervention to try to get you to stop is I love my parents and they've been supportive the whole way, but it's a hard thing to continue, push through, or friends going, what's this going to lead to? Why you can't, and you go, I have to put on horse blinders and not listen to anything else. And you listen to that voice that's driving you. That to me is what being fearlessly authentic. God, that was good.
That was really good, Rich. I'm really, really impressed. Okay. How can people reach you? Is it at Rich is Funny on all your social media?
All social, my website, Rich is Funny, one word. It's one word. No one can spell Aronovich. Right. Lithuanian for, hey, look, there's a Jew. Ladies, they say, once you go Jew, your credit's okay. Anyways, Rich is Funny. Rich is Funny.
Okay, Rich, go check out his TikTok. You will laugh your ass off. Rich Aronovich, thank you so much for being on the show. I can't wait to have you come back. You'll be back, right? We have like 15 seconds. You have to answer the question.
Yes, I would definitely be back. Yes.
Okay, good. All right.
I was like, no way. No.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for being on the show. And until next week, go live your most fearlessly authentic life, everybody. Thank you for listening. And remember to rate, review, and subscribe to Fearlessly Authentic. Bye-bye, everybody.